Hi folks, welcome back here with another Tune In Tuesday episode. So we are back into it with an astrology forecast as well as some sort of collective energy life update situation. So for me, as you all know, this year I did move and make a lot of changes in terms of work, in terms of living situation, in terms of partnership dynamics and things of that sort. And as we are going along this journey, we are making changes again. So stay tuned for a little update on some changes that are coming my way. But I think this is very in alignment with what's going on in the collective energy. So there are lots of changes underway with Scorpio, Uranus, all this momentum in the sky. We have lots of pivots. So that being said, there can be some sort of symbolic forward movement that is happening after some sort of profound epiphany, conversations that sparked insight, just like conversations around planning, or just honestly a lot of mental chatter. This could have been a lot of internal thinking, a lot of maybe planning with another person, but just a lot of internal chatter at this time as you're planning for whatever changes are set to come. Again, we are in year 9 going into year 1 during the age of Aquarius. So there's a lot of energy around carving your own path, making your own path, choosing your direction, and sort of planning your steps in this process. A lot of it can also feel a little unexpected in terms of knowing that you wanted to change direction, not knowing exactly where you were going to be going, but remaining open to that sense of pull in a direction and sort of riding those waves as you are undergoing these changes. Another thing could be just generally lots of decision making at this time, having to make decisions about where you are, what you're going to continue to put up with, and what you're not going to continue to put up with any longer. So those are some of the things to think about, just generally planting our seeds and thinking about where we are going to be going and what direction we are going to be going. And a lot of that could have been happening with this last new moon that happened in Scorpio. So this, before I even jump into the astrology forecast, I'll just connect this to the tarot message for the collective. So I did pull the Page of Wands and the Four of Cups. And at the bottom of the deck was our lovely Ten of Swords. So this was very in alignment with some of the energies I was picking up on. It could be just like the sense of long-awaited closure, long-awaited endings, celebrating closure, and just thinking a little bit more deeply around what are some of those draining thoughts, just mental chatter, mental noise, and things of that sort that just was weighing on you. And finally, you're feeling like you're freeing yourself a little bit from that. You're finding that Page of Cups energy, that sense of inspiration, whether that's finally apologizing to yourself and giving yourself that closure that you needed to be able to move forward in a positive relationship with your mind, right? With your body, with your soul. And that sort of laying proper foundations with the Four of Wands for you to be able to go into a sense of joy, fulfillment, and abundance and happiness as you are going into fresher energies. We did switch from Scorpio to Sagittarius, so there can be a little bit of a lighter energy. Scorpio can be very overwhelming, intense, deep conversation, deep feelings and things of that sort. But with the Sagittarius energy, there's a little bit of a lighter energy. There's a sense of wanting to explore. There's a sense of wanting to expand. There's a sense of wanting to grow. So with this energy, again, there can be this theme around having to close something out. And again, that can feel a little bit draining, a little tiring to have to do that closure, to have to do that goodbye, to have to do that walking away. But all in all, we are going into a sense of new directions, right? That ones that feel a little bit more expansive and in alignment with what brings us true prosperity, joy, and fulfillment. So those are the sorts of directions and changes and shifts that can be going on at this time. All right, so this is the perfect segue into the astrology forecast. So we have on December 4th, a full moon in Gemini. Gemini, my favorite. So this will be happening at 13 degrees, which is also a Scorpio degree. So a little bit of a Scorpio energy here with this full moon in Gemini. Gemini energy, as I understand very well, has a lot of overthinking to it, a lot of like mental chatter, a lot of sort of thinking about all of the paths, all of the possibilities, all of the results that could potentially happen, thinking about so many what ifs, so many hypotheticals, thinking about all the little like details and things of that sort. So with this Gemini energy sort of being in a full moon, right? Lots of closure, culmination energy, endings, and things of that sort happening at the Scorpio 13 degree. Again, another added element of intensity, closure, death and rebirth, transformation, and pivots. It can be that finally you are reaching a sense of clarity within your own mind. You are facing any dichotomies that were happening, whether internally or externally to yourself, right? You are facing any sort of decision paralysis where you're not sure on how you're going to go about this, or what decision you should even make here, or what paths to choose from, or suddenly two paths can come up for you and you have to make a decision in a quick time frame, right? So things of that sort to look out for here. With this full moon in Gemini, it's going to help you, again, get to a sense of clarity, get to a sense of solid decision on what you're doing and where you're going. However, it can be that you're finally forced to confront it, finally forced to face it, whether that's putting you in a time constraint to come up with a decision, or whether that is finally you just reaching that point of, my mind can no longer take this back and forth energy. I need to come up with a plan and stick to it. So those are the types of energies with this full moon in Gemini. Additionally, Gemini is also our social life, our curiosity, our mind, our learning, right? The things we're consuming on a day-to-day basis through our networks, through socials, stuff like that. So there can be this energy around reaching closures in regards to any social circles that, again, no longer resonate for you. So you can be saying goodbye to people. Additionally, you can, again, all making space and way for connections that are going to support you in the future. But you are closing out some of those connections that just no longer, again, resonate with the journey in which you are going or the places in which you are going. So with that full moon in Gemini, again, there can be these sort of transformations in terms of social settings. Additionally, in terms of the learning sector, you can be closing out any courses. Again, this is finals season. People are starting to close out their classes, get ready for their exams and leave. So along that energy, that can be, again, a last final push when it comes to using your brain a lot to soak in information at this time. So that is some things to keep out for with this full moon in Gemini happening at the 13th degree. So just have that added intense element. So just look out for that. On December 11th, we do have Mercury entering Sagittarius. Mercury, again, more Gemini energy, is our networks, our communications, and things of that sort. So with Mercury entering Sagittarius, again, it's been going direct, but it was retrograde before. And so some things to keep in mind with Mercury and Sagittarius after a retrograde phase, there can be this energy around, again, rethinking and tapping into what are your morals, what are your ethics, what are your higher beliefs, what is your faith, what is your relationship to a higher power, and things of that can sort of be up for you to think about during this time, or rather you were doing a lot of thinking around that, and now you are finally a little bit more in alignment with what those things are to you, and being able to then implement that and embody that moving forward in your path. So let's say you were in a moral dilemma, and now you are finally, seeing things a little bit more clearly into how you feel about it and what is more in alignment with you at your core, and now you are able to move forward in something that is more reflective of who you are. So again, this can be in religious context, this can be in higher educational context, this can be in your spiritual context, this can be simply in your, higher opinions about how your life should be and look like to you, thinking about deeper meaning, thinking about a deeper purpose in life. And so those are some of the things that we could be thinking about at this time. Just some of those deeper philosophies and thinking about what those mean to you and what those look like to you. And if your life is reflective of that, how you can continue to uplift that, or rather, if your life is currently not reflective of that, how you can change things around to better align with that. So again, you can be having a lot more profound conversations in your social groups, in your social settings, making space for people who are making you think a little bit more deeply about these things. Finding yourself maybe having more religious type conversations with your friends, or more spiritual type conversations with your friends, or finding that you are having more wisdom-filled conversations at this time that you can find with Mercury entering Sagittarius. Sagittarius has a Jupiterian energy to it, very abundant, adventurous, sort of explorative, expansion type energy. So you can feel as if your social life can be expanding, again, meeting new people that just feel very sort of enlightening at this time. Any sort of those themes at this time, again, even within your own mind, you can feel as if you're reaching some sort of enlightenment after going through an intense sort of death and rebirth energy with Scorpio, Mercury, Scorpio, going in retrograde and all this, right? Finally, there can be a lighter energy within your mind frame, again, with the full moon in Gemini. Also helping you close out any mental chatter that's just no longer serving you anymore. So you can feel a little bit less trapped by your own brain and mind with Mercury being in Sagittarius after this full moon in Gemini. Alrighty, last but not least, this is a shorter astrology forecast. On December 15th, we do have Mars entering Capricorn. So Mars is our Aries Scorpio energy. It's our ambition, our passion, our aggression, our physical activity, our desire for movement in all types of ways. But just generally the things that just, like spark up extremity within us, no matter what side of the spectrum it's on. Whether that's, deep excitement, jumping up and down from excitement, or whether that's simply just deep anger and just feeling very frustrated and things of that sort. But with Capricorn energy, Capricorn is less connected to its emotions and more kind of like just pushes the emotions to the side, kind of just grinds out in face of whatever emotional stuff can be happening. With its earth sign energy, it does ground it a little bit more, and it's just like, let's just focus on the bag. So with Mars entering Capricorn, that can help you temper that extremity. Less extremity in terms of, any other side of the spectrum, and it's grounding you just a little bit more in your Mars energy and helping you be a little bit more goal oriented, making sure that those passions and, desires and the things that get you excited and whatever movement you want to do, again, is not too extreme. And you are now having a little bit more of a streamlined focus in terms of how you can, implement those passions and desires into something. So whether that's being a little bit more goal oriented in terms of your creativity, whether that's being a little bit more goal oriented and grinding in terms of, having more energy for work projects, having more energy for whatever is making you feel super productive, like getting some things done, making you feel like you are giving to you, society, and whatever way, shape, or form makes you feel like, again, you're moving. So with Mars entering Capricorn, definitely just a lot of career focused ambition, a lot of making those goals in terms of how you can be a little bit more productive in your approach to, life at this time. All in all, just a lot of go-getter energy. So finding yourself getting things done. There just could be a lot of busy energy. And with Mars and Capricorn, it's giving you that needed momentum, that needed energy to get these things done. So enjoy that Mars and Capricorn energy. Enjoy Mercury being in Sagittarius as it lightens up the brain. Enjoy, the full moon in Gemini as it's helping you make that decision. So good luck, folks. Enjoy the ride, enjoy the astrological energies, and thank you again for making it all the way to the end of the astrological forecast. If you did, stay tuned for the next Tune In Tuesday. Bye, folks.